If things go business as usual, we will not live, we will die.
On September 23rd, the United Nations is holding a historic climate summit where they've invited world leaders and heads of state from around the world. We're trying to organize the largest ever climate rally in the streets of New York in response to this, hopefully turning the tide of what comes out of that summit and reshaping what the entire climate movement looks like going forward.
Climate tipping points aren't scary, but if we stay connected to each other, we can build the largest climate mobilization in history. We'll have power to create the movement tipping point on climate change, the one that takes our leaders from this place of inaction and puts them on a journey towards saving the planet.
All the big social movements in history have had people in the streets. Women's voting rights, civil rights movement, and even more recently on climate issues, our big successes have happened when people left their homes and went out in the streets.
This is a bigger fight than, in fact, has ever been won. It's not that we need to save the Earth. We need to save the systems that make the Earth compatible with human existence and the existence of other life forms.
This is the fight of our time. None of us should exactly have to be activists about it. Rationally, the fact that scientists had said the worst thing on Earth is happening now, and here's the people who stop it, that would have been enough to push our systems into action.
Just a year ago, we passed 400 parts per million of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Now, the pre-industrial level was about 280 parts per million. So human society in the industrial era have raised the level of CO2 in the atmosphere by about 40%. Many people fear that before we're done, we're going to double it or even triple it.
We're pumping CO2 into the atmosphere at a speed we've never seen before in modern human history. We are absolutely racing into uncharted territory.
In our lifetime, human beings left behind the hulks this 10,000-year period of benign climatic stability that coincides with the rise of human civilization. We have crossed a great depression. We stand on the edge of others.
Say goodbye!
I don't really understand this nice visualization. Yeah, it's like a horror show. The climate is constructed. That's not for next year or 1,000 years from now. That's happening right now.
What all climate scientists will agree on is that the entire atmosphere has changed. All the atmospheric dynamics have changed. So every event that happens now is in the context of climate change. It's different from how it would have been.
And the devastation is staggering. Those times where to describe how I feel about the losses. To anyone outside who continues to deny and ignore the reality of climate change, I dare them to get off their ivory towers and away from the comfort of their armchairs. I dare them to go to the islands of the Pacific. We refuse as a nation to accept a future where super typhoons like Haiyan become a way of life. We refuse to accept that running away from storms, evacuating our families, counting our dead become a way of life. We simply refuse.
Ready, go!
We can fix it. We can stop this madness.
Tomorrow to pull off the largest climate march in history. It's really important for folks to remember that although climate change affects everyone, the impacts are not evenly distributed. And we're asking each one of these breakout groups, prioritize people of color, folks, because this is real, it's disproportionate, and it's time to bring it.
They need to act on finding people from fossil fuels to solutions and also presenting them with economic opportunities around.
This environmental issue is the singular issue of our time, of our day, that will determine how we live, where we live, and if we live.
The most important tool that we have is our people's power. There are already 325 groups, and that list is going to grow every single day. But everything that we're doing to help build this mobilization, rethink it. And make it bigger, make it bolder. Our job is to make sure everybody hears about it. And then they'll get there. They'll get there. That's our job. In 1982, the UN convened the first special session on nuclear disarmament. And we came together and said, when the representatives of governments all around the world gather in New York City at the UN, we need to be on the streets making our voice heard.
New York City's anti-nuclear demonstration turned out to be the biggest political demonstration in U.S. history.
It was, and still to this day, is the largest single gathering, if you will, of people in this country. I think there was one computer in the office. Everything else was by phone, this thing called mail, snail mail, whatever. But there was something about that reality that we didn't have the technology that actually forced people to talk directly to each other. One of the really interesting things about that demonstration is that some 600 local groups were formed, and many of those groups lasted for years afterwards. To me, the real power of that day was the organizing experience that led up to it, and then the organizing that came out of it.
Some experts are saying now that the whole world is heating up because of a global greenhouse effect.
Scientists have been saying for a long time that climate change might occur, but 1988 is the year when Jim Hansen and his team at NASA say, both in the scientific news literature and in public, that it's actually happening.
The changes in the composition that we're making is going to have a big impact on the Earth's climate. The greenhouse effect has been detected.
Hansen's testimony was reported on the front page of the New York Times, and it was actually a bill introduced in Congress, the National Energy Policy Act, to really be the exactly of the sea in order to prevent disruptive climate change. And of course, that was supported by the creation of the IPCC, which is government climate change act. So there was really momentum, scientific momentum, strong scientific evidence, media attention, and then the whole thing fell apart.
to have to be the fight of our lives.
Welcome to this press conference to present the report of IPCC Working Group 3 on the mitigation of climate change.
If we really want to bring about a limitation of temperature increase to no more than 2 degrees Celsius, there is then the need for an unprecedented level of international cooperation.
The way we've approached climate change is the scientific community builds the case, it synthesizes the evidence, it presents that evidence then to the policymakers. We've proven beyond a doubt that climate change is real, that the Earth's temperature is warming, that warming is predominantly caused by the burning of fossil fuels and other human activities, and that additional warming poses a significant threat.
We're 2 months out. And on the project, so we don't know. There's been a tremendous amount of work that's happening every day, getting the word out, organizing people, mobilizing people. At this point, every day, and every day when we miss it, it's gone.
It's not just a one-day march, it's a long-term ability to build a strong climate movement that we need to invest in. So being inclusive to us is really about multiple things, but recognizing that we live in a society where there's privilege, there are inequities. In order to address the climate crisis, we have to first address those inequities. That will allow us to then bring a movement strong enough to address the global ecological crisis.
If you think for a second about this, there was this just layer of stuff under the ground, got put there at a specific time in a specific way, and it just captured millennia of solar energy. And we just happened upon it. It's like if you were just walking around and like, oh, put something on the ground, there's just millions of dollar bills that we're just rolling them out. Everything about what we do and who we are and how we live is dependent about the fact that we just found this stuff sitting there. That stuff says, oh, you don't have to have everyone working in fuels all the time. You can have cities, you can have cars, you can have iPhones. And the way I view it is, as incredible as that stuff is, we've been paying this price on it the whole time, right? And there's this clock running.
It's only by accident that we even think of climate change as an environmental issue. You could just as easily think of it as another example of what happens in an unequal society. The people who contributed the least to climate change, benefited the least from the use of fossil fuel, are the first people to feel the effects. People in the poorest parts of the world suffer enormously already, and will suffer enormously more as the century wears on. It normally takes a long time to switch energy sources, 50, 60 years to go from wood to coal to oil and gas. We lack 50, 60 years.
The reason we want to get off of fossil fuels now is because we have to protect our way of life.
An estimated 2,000 environmental activists across the continent lined up in Washington, D.C. to launch a 2-week protest.
It has become a symbol to both sides in this debate, where the people who want further development of fossil fuels see getting Keystone through as core to their strategy, and on the other side, the climate activists see it as a symbolic vote that they have to win.
I'm here as a Nebraska citizen and landowner.
I am on the advisory board of the Center for Health and Global Environment at Harvard.
I'm an evangelical Christian. I'm a proud member of the Transport Workers Union of America.
You know what's so fascinating about this whole Keystone thing is that was supposed to be a wedge, and instead it's been turned upside down. Now it's actually a base that is lining up constituency after constituency.
Today we act! Today we send a message to them and everybody else! We are taking back our futures!
Something extraordinary and unexpected has backfired out of the ambition of the fossil fuel companies. They've built a movement by mistake.